Hello Fude friends! In this video I will be showing my entire Houkodou collection and point out some recommendations prior to the price increase, which will take place on March 1st. So in this video I will show you all of my brushes. I will start with the eye brushes. The eye brushes are either Canadian Squirrel or Kolinsky. So let's start with the Canadian Squirrel eye brushes. This is the GS1 and GS2 for Gold Series. That's what the GS stands for. The 1 is the larger one and the 2 is the smaller one. I would say these are some of my must-have favorites from this brand, and they're very reasonably priced for them being Canadian Squirrel. The quality of the hair is good. It's not as silky as other Canadian Squirrel from brands such as Houkodou or Takeda, but it is very efficient and soft enough. The main differences between these two brushes are the sizes. So the larger one is a large eye brush, and then the smaller one I would say is a medium size eye brush. The larger one also has an almond shape and comes to a stronger point, whereas the medium one has a more rounded tip. I actually prefer the medium size one. That's just because of my eye size. I use this brush as a blender, a shader, and can be used as a one and done brush. Very versatile. If I could only have one brush from this brand, it would be this one, the GS2, but if you prefer larger size brushes, I think you would feel the same about the GS1. They're actually dupes for the Surratt Classic shadow brushes, which I have here, and we'll show you some comparisons. Let's start with the larger one. This is the GS1. Very similar size and shape. I think the Houkodou one is a little thicker at the ferrule. And then here is the smaller one. Very good dupe for the Surratt ones if you are familiar with those. I will insert a chart here. I also have it listed under my community tab to show the price increase percentage for all of the brushes in the Gold Series. These eye brushes are going up by 25% for the larger one, 20% for the smaller one. And I forgot to mention the handles. The Gold Series in general has lightweight handles, and the handles tend to be a little bit on the shorter size, especially for the face brushes, but they are durable and they hold up very well. I haven't experienced any fading of the letters, and I've had them for a really long time with heavy use, so they really do hold up. They don't have the brush name on them, which is why I attempted to label them. Some of them are labeled, some of them are not. Overall, I think they are a good in-between between affordability and feeling like you have a luxury handle. Okay, so next I have Kolinsky eye brushes. This is the GS3. Unfortunately, it is no longer available, and this was the larger size shader Kolinsky brush. I will link it below in case you are, if I can find the listing, I'll link it below in case you're interested in seeing the specs. But then the next size down is the GS5, which is available. I have here, and I think this one pre-increase is around $25, which is a good price for a Kolinsky brush. I think this is a good entry point into Kolinsky if you are new to the hair type and want to try it out. This is a great brush to start with. If you already have a large collection of Kolinsky brushes from other brands, then I'm not sure this one would add too much to your collection. It's a good Kolinsky brush, but it's not the softest Kolinsky hair that I have experienced. This is a good workhorse brush for using with creams, liquids, and then harder to pick up powders such as metallics or foiled shades and glitters. And then last I have the GS4, which is a cute little curved liner brush, also made from Kolinsky. This one is great for smudging eyeliners or applying shadows along the lash line. I think it's soft enough, but it's borderline. So if you have sensitive eyes, you might be on the fence. That's because the bristles are rather short. And as I mentioned with the shader brush, it's not the softest Kolinsky. Maybe similar to just plain weasel hair. But overall, this is another great brush. And to summarize on the eye brushes, I can easily recommend them all. There are no duds in this series, and I think you can do a lot with just the 4 eye brushes here. This would make a very versatile and lovely set that you can do a lot with for eye makeup. Okay, and then next I have my face brushes. I was surprised to see that I had more cheek brushes than face brushes. I'm not sure if I will pick up any face brushes before the increase, but the face brushes I have are the GC2, the GC6, the GF2. That's the only face brush I have. So let's start with the GC2. They are in order of favorites. The biggest downside to the face brushes is that the handles get substantially shorter. They feel more like travel size handles. Here you can see it next to an eye brush. It makes sense in terms of keeping the overall size of the brush similar, but when you're looking at just the face brushes alone, the handles do feel a little shorter. That's the only con I can think of, but if you're okay with the travel size handle and it being lightweight, I think these are great brushes. The GC2 is going up around 25%. It's currently 8,000 Japanese yen. It's going to 10,000. At 10,000, if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm just not sure it's the best choice. It's not a great value because for a little bit more you can get another very good squirrel cheek brush. For example, the Z8 is only a little bit more. That will be the price. That's not the Z8. Here's the Z8. That will be the price post increase, and you can see the Z8 is a much thicker brush and you're going to get more density and squirrel hair. But just going back to the C6, this is a pinched ferrule cheek brush. It's rather flat, but it's really good for bronzer and brush. The hairs, even though it is flat and pinched, it is very densely packed in the ferrule. But because it is a thinner ferrule and the hairs are rather long, it feels airy. And in terms of softness, it's good quality squirrel hair. I would say this is as soft as my Z series cheek brushes, and in some cases even softer. So the squirrel hair quality is there. The next cheek brush I have is the GC6, and as many of you know, I just adore this shape. This shape is similar to the RC2, and that is the brush I will bring out for comparison purposes. So this is a round pom-pom shape, and the GC6 is going to be a little airier because it is less dense than the RC2. And then the other big difference is that the C6 has it's the taper happens later, so these hairs don't taper until higher up on the brush, whereas with the RC2 the tapers actually start happening very low, much lower in the bundling, whereas with the C6 they do not begin to taper until I would say halfway up the brush. So this results in a more pom-pom shape, and this one feels more flat along the sides, and then the tapering starts closer to the top. I adore the C6, but the RC2 is just one of my all-time favorite brushes, and I do prefer the RC2 over the C6, and these are going to be very close in price. And then next I have a face brush, which is the GF2. This one has 50mm hair length, which is pretty standard for this type of squirrel powder brush. There are many brands that have a brush like this. It's a nice brush, but it just doesn't stand out in my collection because I do already have many brushes in this type of size and shape. For example, I have the Houkodou BP09, or yes, BP009, which unfortunately is now discontinued. But here they are next to each other, and you can just tell that once you use these brushes, they're going to perform the same. They're very airy, great for finishing powders, but they're just so close. I will say that the GF2 feels denser and very tightly packed compared to some of my other ones. And I also brought out a few that unfortunately are no longer available. I don't think they are, at least. This is the GC3. This was a cheek brush with pine squirrel hair. If I can find any listings to these brushes, I will list them below in case you are interested in the dimensions and details. And then this one, I don't even know the name of this one. This one is a half goat, half squirrel angled face brush. Reminds me of the Houkodou 531. I think that's right. And then this one is also, I think it's being discontinued. It might just be sold out. Fude Beauty still has some brushes with this handle available. This is the Pearl White Series WF2. And next I have two goat brushes from the BC series. And these, as far as I know, will not have a price increase, which is great. Both of these brushes I have mentioned in articles that I have written before. I will link them below in case you find them helpful. This is the BZ1, which I mentioned as one of my favorite powder and liquid foundation brushes, especially for someone who's looking to start more on a budget. And what I like about this series is also that the handles, even though they're little in travel size, they're very durable and cute. You have this beige sparkle handle with a matte plum ferrule. No chipping, despite it being used a lot. And then next I have the BZ2. This is listed as a foundation brush, but it's too small for that. I like to use it solely for cream cheek products, in particular cream blushes, cream or liquid blushes. So I do have one more brush, which is the Jumbo Gray Squirrel Finishing brush, and I've had it in storage. I haven't taken it out in a long time, so I thought we could do that together. If you were to purchase it, this is how it comes packaged in this really large wood box, and this one retails, I believe, for 50,000 Japanese yen, so it is very expensive, and it's hard for me to recommend because it's very limited in use. I think this is a collector's brush and definitely deserves its own dedicated video. I do value having this brush. It's such a treat to take out and pet and occasionally use, but that's not what many people are looking for in their powder brushes. It's limited in use. So here is the brush. Let me close the box so you can see it better. This one has another lightweight handle in a glossy black finish, and the hair length on this one is quite long. so soft. I really like having this brush, but we have to be practical, and I know that this is not the most versatile brush. So that was it. That is my entire collection from this brand. After seeing them all together, I'm happy to just have these before the price increase, because as is, they're expensive luxury brushes. The ones that stand out to me the most as ones I would absolutely want to have in my collection are the Canadian Squirrel eye brushes, the Kolinsky eye brush, especially if I was viewing this as my introduction to a Kolinsky shader brush, and then one of the two cheek brushes, either the flat one or the pinched ferrule one or the pom-pom shape. Well, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you're planning to pick up anything from Fude Beauty before the price increase, which again will kick in March 1st.